All right, well, it's on 9 o'clock, so we'll start. Good morning, everyone. Appreciate everybody joining us this Thursday morning, July 15th, 2021. Appreciate everybody being here. It's a great day here in Eastern Virginia. Sun is shining. Welcome again to VCE AG Today. Today's topic of discussion is going to be the Virginia Pesticide Collection Program offered by the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. The program is being offered again here in Northeastern Virginia this year for a lot of the counties and localities in the Middle Peninsula, Northern Neck, and a lot of surrounding areas adjacent to those areas. So welcome, everyone. We're pleased to be joined by Mr. Jeff Rogers from VDACS Special Programs, and he's going to give us some information and share some details on the upcoming Virginia Pesticide Collection Program, as well as some dates and locations and all the information that you'll need to know to participate in that. So if you have any old pesticide products around the home, farm, agribusiness that you'd like to get rid of, now's the chance. This is a 1 and 5 year program, and Jeff will talk about that a little more in detail. So if you're interested in that, you're at the right place. So just a few housekeeping notes as always. The program is being recorded, so we'll post that to our VCE AG Today playlist. So if you need a link to that, please let us know, and we'll be happy to get you that information and share it with others, please. And then also, if you would, please remain muted throughout Jeff's presentation, just to avoid any background noise or interruptions. And then we'll open it up at the end for questions and discussion. If you do have a question that you want to put in the chat window throughout the presentation, if you just click on the chat icon there in the bottom side of the pane on your computer, you can enter that in, and we'll address those towards the end of the presentation as we have time. So, Jeff, we appreciate you being with us this morning, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the introduction and the opportunity. Let me go ahead and try to share my screen here. I've just got a few slides here that I'll go through and give you a little program overview and highlight. Hopefully. And then if you can just let me know if you can see my screen, I'll start the slideshow. Okay. Can you see that, Robbie? First slide.
Yes, sir. Perfect, Jeff.
Okay. Thanks so much. So again, my name is Jeff Rogers. I'm the environmental program planner with the Virginia Department of Agriculture, and which you'll see referred to as VDACS as we move through that. In government, we're super fond of acronyms, and so you'll see some of those going through. But with that, I'd like to talk a little bit about our collection program, and these are the points that we'll spend a few minutes on. The first four: cooperative efforts, all of the parties involved in bringing this program about. I'll touch on the funding. That seems to be the popular piece of this because there's no cost to participants. So I'll just touch on how we're able to offer this at no charge. The environmental stewardship piece, and that's the intent of the program. When the agency or the Department of Agriculture put this together, their goal was to solve some problems. So we'll touch on that. And then the details, and that's the meat of the matter. A little background on the program, how you can participate, and how this program can benefit you. And then the very last slide, you'll have my contact information, my phone number and email address. So if there are any questions as this concludes or in the future, you can feel free to reach out to me at any time. So with that, these are the programs involved. So you have the Virginia Department of Agriculture, or VDACS. We have Virginia Cooperative Extension, who we partner with heavily on this program to make it a success. DCLS is the Division of Consolidated Labs. The only relevance there is that's the state lab that runs our samples or manages that detection effort that we put out on unknowns, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then, of course, our contractor. We have a hazardous waste contractor, so we'll talk a little bit about their role in the program. And then, most importantly, the participants. Without them, there's no need for the program. So, excuse me. We'll give you a little bit of the responsibilities of each. So for the department, we're the contract administrator. We put out the request for proposals. We work with our procurement office to bring a hazardous waste contractor on board, and they serve us the same contractor through all of our events. So they put staff on the ground at each of the events, and we'll discuss that in a few slides. As the contract administrator, I serve as the liaison between cooperative extension and the contractor participants. Pretty much any questions, issues, logistics, whatever may come up, or any services that we can provide, VDACS takes the role in working out those bugs and making sure that we meet that need. We're on site. I'm on site at all of the collection events. Oftentimes, the investigator who's local to that service area will be on site. Speaking of the investigator, any submission of samples, VDACS takes the role in sampling unknowns. We'll talk about unknown sampling later, but just so you know, no one has to do any sample collection or analysis. We do all of that. Our people will go out and collect the sample. Our lab will run it to determine the eligibility. So we manage that piece. And then again, we notify and educate and communicate directly with our stakeholder group. And that could be the licensed pesticide businesses, certified applicators. We work closely with industry associations, crop production, pest control, golf course superintendents, turf grass. So we're working with those groups to get the message or the information out regarding the program, so that anybody who needs to participate knows about it and can when needed. Cooperative extension, again, I mentioned before, we partner heavily with them. They are the people in the area that know that situation the best, the needs of the growers. They work closely with us in picking the right dates for the event, so we're not conflicting with other programs or activities in the area. Collection sites, we look for places that are well known and can service, that locality or multiple localities. So they work closely with us in getting those areas identified and selected, and then of course advertising the program. Reaching out to the people that they interact with day in and day out, your agricultural producers, your homeowners, master gardeners, all of the people that Extension works with. They're putting this message out. This is a perfect example this webinar year. And again, Extension takes lead in pesticide safety education, and one of or important aspects of that is proper storage and disposal, and this program dovetails nicely with that for people who have situations where they can no longer store or in need of disposal. This program serves to meet those needs. And agents are often on site during the collection event as well. If their schedule allows, it's a great opportunity to communicate with your growers. And for us, for VDACS, this is a white hat opportunity, right? There's no enforcement activity. There's no reason to avoid us. We're happy to be there to provide this service. It's a win-win. So again, I'll just touch on our division of consolidated labs, or the state lab. And the only thing you need to know there is they run our samples. They mass spec any unknowns, and we'll again talk about unknown sampling. But if we have to pull a sample, we run it through the lab. They're going to run it through their mass spec and see if it has, that active ingredient has pesticidal properties. If it does, it's eligible for the program, and that's the goal there. So that helps us determine if we can put something in and how to manage that waste, or if it's not eligible. Is it spent motor oil? Is it, just a straight fertilizer, which we wouldn't include in this program, but having that information would help the participant manage that waste in that respect. I will say that we don't go any farther than that. Sometimes I've had examples where we may sample a drum and it comes back, atrazine. That's the characteristics that it has. And the grower says, well, if it's atrazine, I can still use it. Is it good? That I can't tell you. Once we determine the eligibility, that's the end of that sample. If you wanted to know, the percentage of concentration, or if it's still going to be valuable to use, that would be private lab work. Unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to go that far. We're just determining, can it be included or not. So our contractor, this year, our contractor is EcoFlow out of Greensboro, North Carolina. And their role here is to manage the waste that comes in. So that they'll put equipment, they'll put supplies, and they'll put trained staff at each of our events. And those people will be the ones that manage that waste as it comes in. They set up the site. They have the emergency response. They unload the trucks. They, categorize what they need to, and then they overpack accordingly, and then manifest the waste, ship the waste, ultimately incinerate the waste. And we'll talk a little bit more about that going ahead. But I don't know how well you can see these pictures, but this bottom one on the left-hand side is a good example of a normal collection event. So you've got the truck there, they've got the unload site set up, the polys down, they've got drums. The two gentlemen on the left side of the truck wearing the high visibility shirts, they're the people who know what they're doing. All of the gentlemen standing on the right side of the truck are VDACS representatives, extension agents, and the growers, and we are safely out of the way of these two gentlemen who
Hey, Jeff, I think we lost your audio. We can't hear anything that you're saying. Jeff, you may have to call into the Zoom phone number. It's reconnecting to audio, so just bear with us, folks. We apologize for the technical difficulty. Hopefully we can get Jeff reconnected.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. We got you, Jeff.
I apologize. I don't know what happened there, but I don't know what the last thing you heard is, but I'll just touch on this cooperative effort slide here with the collection event. The picture on the bottom left, we've got the contractors overpacking the material, and the VDACS staff and extension agents and the growers. We're all here looking like state employees not doing anything, but that is the intent here. We leave the management of the waste to the professionals. You can see in the middle picture, they're unloading the contents of that pickup, sorting it, and packing it in the drums. And then ultimately that'll get loaded up and hauled to the TSDF, or the treatment site and disposal facility. The other thing that I'll mention about the contractors' efforts, what is not on the bulleted points here, but in the picture to the far right, you'll see overpack containers. On a case-by-case basis, we sometimes have situations where a participant can't safely handle the material or bring it to an event. And in those situations, we work with them to provide an overpack material if that'll meet the need. Maybe you've got a container that's lost its integrity, and you want to dispose of it, but you're afraid of making the situation worse. Oftentimes, these are very large overpacks. This is kind of not a good example. Oftentimes we can bring a 30-gallon poly open top drum so that we can safely put the material in there, get a lid on it, and then it can be transported as necessary. So lastly, and most importantly, the participant responsibilities, and the primary responsibility there would just be to participate. If you don't show up, it's not a party. The program isn't really a success if we're not managing the sites or helping dispose of this waste. And so we just need people not to put it off another year. If you have a situation where you've got material and you want to dispose of it, bring it. The only thing that we would ask is if you can complete and submit a registration form ahead of time. That helps us be prepared for what may be coming in at what site. So if you've got a large quantity, it's very helpful for us to know ahead of time so that we have enough materials and staff, and the truck's large enough. As I mentioned, our contractor's coming out of Greensboro, North Carolina. So however many sites we may do that week, when they come up, they've got everything that they're prepared for all of those sites in that week. And we have had some situations in the past where we have 5 events in one week, and on Wednesday the truck's full, and that can provide logistical challenges that we would like to avoid if possible. And that's where the registration forms can really help us prepare ahead of time. And then for the unknown sampling too, that gives us a window of time, and we'll talk about that in a second. But show up, bring the material, and please participate, because every year I will get them. Your extension agents will get them. After the program is gone, someone will call up and say, "Hey, I have all this material, and I know you had a program, but it didn't suit. I didn't come out. What do I do now?" And as Robbie mentioned earlier, there's not a lot that we can do for you for the next 4 or 5 years, because the program won't be back next year. They only happen once a year, and we have the state broken up into 5 regions. And so when you have the opportunity, I would really encourage you to participate. Oftentimes I get calls, every year I get calls where, dad died and we've inherited a farm, and we found, in a barn, a little bit of material from every year that he's farmed for the last 50 years. So it's a lot of stuff. What do we do? This program is designed to help resolve some of those situations, but it only helps if we know about them and people are willing to bring that waste out. Oftentimes, some people will just hang on to something. Well, it's still good. I'll use it next year, and that 5 years, 10 years down the road, there becomes a large volume, and more importantly, a large liability that we'd like to avoid. So if you have it and you don't need it, you can't use it, it's old, whatever, please let us know about that. We certainly want you to participate. Again, this value is solely for the producers or the pesticide users. So funding, how do we pay for this? The popular piece of the program is that there's no cost to participants. There's a large cost to VDACS, but we feel that it's well worth the money spent. So how do we pay for that? In the Office of Pesticide Services, we are what's considered a non-general fund program. In other words, the General Assembly doesn't set aside funds for the operation of OPS, or the the Office of Pesticide Services. So the money that funds this program comes from our user fees. So we have product registration fees. For products to be sold or used in Virginia, they must be registered in Virginia, and there's a fee associated with that. Businesses who provide pesticide services have to be licensed with a pesticide business license, and there's a fee with that. And then commercial applicators who are certified to work in Virginia also pay a certification fee. And all of those dollars are held to run the Office of Pesticide Services, to provide the services that this program has. And that does include the pesticide collection. That's why in these programs, we only take pesticides, because these product registration fees, these registrants pay the fee to register the product in Virginia. And one of the services they get for that fee is we have this pesticide collection program. That might be more than you wanted to know, but it's free. And that's the critical part to participants. And if you've ever priced the disposal of hazardous waste materials, you'll know that free is a really good value, because those costs can be prohibitive to an individual or producer or a small operation who has materials they may just not be able to afford to dispose of it properly. And so again, the agency has this program to help meet that need, which takes us to our environmental stewardship piece. The intent of the program is to assist participants with the disposal of unwanted agricultural and commercial pesticides, in a proper way, so that producers, licensed businesses, pest control firms, homeowners, golf courses, certified applicators, pretty much any user of a pesticide is eligible to participate at no cost in this program. I have amnesty program down here at the bottom. It is kind of a quasi-amnesty program in that we do ask for the registration forms up front, just so that we know what material we can expect and be prepared for it. But that information isn't held. At the end of all of the events, those records are destroyed. There's no record retention on registration forms. We don't keep the names or the material brought, any of those things. The only thing that we keep is the manifest of the waste that was received, but nothing related to the participants. So it is an amnesty program in that respect. And these are just some examples of the kinds of programs, or not programs, the kinds of sites this program has worked to resolve. That middle picture, this was some rented pasture. I think a dairyman had his dry cows out there, and he had a couple of cows die, right along the side of this building,
Jeff, I believe we lost your audio again, but it says it's reconnecting, so hopefully it will pick back up in just a second.
Robbie, he may want to disconnect his video. Sometimes that helps. I've had to do that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Bob. It might help to decrease the bandwidth a little bit. Jeff, you may want to try that to cut off your video and leave just audio. That may help.
this center site here, there was a few cows that we found dead. We didn't find, the grower found dead along the side, and it turns out this was an old orchard at some time. It was just a pasture that they were grazing now. But inside there was some lead arsenic and some other orchard chemicals that had been there for decades that had leached into the soil around the building, and the cows were able to knock enough boards off and graze enough grass or lick enough dirt to get a lethal dose. The picture on the bottom left is a tobacco barn that a gentleman had bought this farm and then opened the barn, and inside he found some of the materials pictured here, top right, center bottom, and notified his extension agent, who notified us, and we were able to do an on-site collection there through this small doorway, this little 4-foot by 4-foot doorway. The bulk of that material came out in a shovel. So I think the key words were, after he bought the farm, he looked into the barns. I would encourage you in the future, if you're going to buy a farm, look in the barn before you close on the property, because you might be buying someone else's hazardous waste site. But again, the program was able to assist. We went out, we were able to collect this material and get it disposed of properly. So these are the kinds of things that we're trying to avoid, or if they exist out there, we're trying to get them cleaned up. And again, we can only do that if we know about it. So if you know of anybody in that situation, please refer them to this program, to their extension agent, to me. We'll certainly work with them as best we can. So a little on how the program works. Virginia is subdivided into 5 regions. We have those 5 service areas. We run the program every year, but it's not statewide. We only work in one service area each year. We don't limit participation to that service area. So if you're outside the area and you want to participate, you're certainly welcome to. You would just have to bring whatever waste you have to the local events to that particular service area. So it might require a little bit of travel, but it's certainly well worth the cost. Once all 5 service areas have been completed, the program restarts. Early on, you know, when the program first started, it was set up to do what was called a milk run. So you told us what you had and where it was, and we went from site to site to site to pick it up. The program hasn't worked that way in a number of years. Now what we have are local events that people bring the material in. So the contractor sets up, as you saw in the picture, and people bring their waste to that site. They're unloaded and overpacked. All that work is done by the trained hazardous waste contractors staff. And again, anything that can't be packaged safely for transport, you know, let us know. We'll work with you as best we can to get you overpacks if we have to come out. We'll certainly do that. We don't want to make a situation worse by somebody trying to participate in the program. And then per our contract, anything that's brought in to our program is ultimately incinerated, right? So there's no other mitigation measures in place. We incinerate everything that we collect. And this is just kind of a snapshot of that overall process. So come to the event, contractor unloads, overpacks into drums or Gaylord boxes. You can see a picture of a scale there. We pay by the pound for the disposal costs, and then it's ultimately shipped to a TSDF or a treatment site or a transport treatment disposal site where they will bulk the liquids and the solids, and then from there it goes to an EPA approved incinerator, and then it's gone. These are the service areas in our color-coded map of Virginia. We, you know, the program always starts kind of in the southeast, and then we work around up through the north, down to the south side, and then we finish in southwest Virginia. Traditionally, we have larger volumes in the southeast and lesser volumes in southwest. These are the cities and counties that we'll be working in 2021. But again, if you're outside this area and you want to participate, you're certainly more than welcome. This is just a historical perspective of the volumes that we've collected. The program existed before 1997, I believe. That would have been before my time. I just don't have any data going back that far. So my bar graph starts there. And in these first few years, these were the milk runs. So we just went site to site to site across the whole state. In 2003, they suspended the program to determine if there was still a need. And if it was determined there was a need, the program began again in 2004, again, a little before my time. So I'm not sure why the volumes were over 200,000 pounds. But that was in the southeast. And then each of the corresponding service areas, you can see there's a little bit less. We begin again in the southeast. And the program continues on. In 2017, there were some budgetary challenges, and all spending for programs, well, all spending was stopped in the Office of Pesticide Services. And so while we had done the first 3 years, or the first 3 service areas of that 5-year cycle, we suspended the program in 17, picked up where we left off in 18, finished Southwest Virginia in 2019, and then began again in 2020. So I tell people, don't put the program, don't put participating off, because there's no guarantee the program will be around next year, as the people in 2017 found out. Fortunately, you know, budget levels were back to where we could support the program, and it is in operation today. All total, it's been a little over 1.6 million pounds since its inception. So the acceptable materials, what's eligible, what can you bring? And the short answer is pesticides, pesticides, pesticides. Agricultural, commercial, homeowner, doesn't matter. If it's a pesticide, it's eligible. If it's a pesticide blend, like a weed and feed product, fertilizer and pesticide, it's eligible, bring it to the program. Use solutions. If you've mixed up, occasionally we'll have agricultural applicators who had mixed a tank of something, and for whatever reason, wind, rain, crop, they were unable to apply it. And now they've got it blended and it's just in a tank. We can accept that material as well. What we can't take, as I said before, since the program is solely funded with the fees from the Office of Pesticide Services, the only materials that we take are pesticides. So unacceptable would be fertilizer. Unknowns greater than 50 pounds or 5 gallons, and I'll touch on that in the next slide. Pesticide contaminated materials, dirt, absorbent snakes, any of those kinds of things, spill response items would be managed in that spill response best management practice, but it wouldn't be included in this program. Rinsate, if you were just rinsing your containers and saving that rinse water, that's a management issue that wouldn't be included in this program. Empty containers, we do have a program for that. We do recycle pesticide plastic, but this isn't that program. So I can't take just empty containers. And then, motor oil, paint, tires, batteries, gas cylinders. Sometimes people equate this program with a household hazardous waste program that a locality or city or a solid waste authority may put on. This isn't that. This is just for pesticides. If you have, paints, tires, batteries, I would refer you to your local household hazardous waste program because they're set up for those kinds of things. The only caveat I would say about gas cylinders is there are some pressurized pesticide gases. We cannot include those in this program, but we can help you get those disposed of. So if you find yourself in a situation with a material like that, feel free to reach out to me. And in the past, we're able to work directly with the registrant for that material, and they're often able to put it into a program or reclaim that material, and we can help you get it disposed of. It's just not through this specific program. These kinds of things, please let me know. But we wouldn't accept them at a scheduled event. So the unknown. So I have a large container of something and I think it's a pesticide, but I'm not sure. What do? Let us know. If it's greater than 50 pounds of a solid or 5 gallons of a liquid, then I need to sample it. And that's where we would have someone come out, either myself or the local investigator. They would just take a sample of the product. We would send it to the lab, and then the lab could tell us if it was eligible or not. If it's less than, say I have a 2.5 gallon container and the label came off and I'm not 100% sure what it is, you can just bring that. We can accept that material in. You have a 30 gallon drum that's half full, that would need to be sampled. So 50 pounds of solid material or 5 gallons of liquid, we would certainly need to know about those to get them sampled, and that takes a period of time. Logistically, we get somebody out there, get the sample, get it through the lab. I can't hear about these things the day before an event because I wouldn't be able to have the results in time. But if you could give us a few weeks, we can certainly make that happen. So those products can be included in the program. Registration. So I asked early on if you just complete the form and submit it. This is where it really benefits us. So if you have a large quantity of pesticides in excess of 3,000 pounds, there's a checkbox on the form for that. That helps us be prepared with enough overpack materials and staff to manage that large volume that may be coming in. Just helps us be prepared. On-site collections. You've got, an image similar to what I showed before, where it's maybe a rickety building, broken bags, an assortment of rusted, 5 gallon containers. Let us know about that ahead of time, and then we can do an on-site, I don't want to say analysis. We can visit the site and see exactly what we're dealing with, and then I can work with the contractor. If we need to do an on-site collection, we can work that into our existing schedule. So maybe we finish an event at 1 o'clock and we can visit this site at 2, and we can put professional people on getting that waste collected and loaded without putting anyone else in harm's way. And then unknowns, as I mentioned before, it just takes time to get those sampled and to get the analysis from the lab. So we really like to have 30 days of notice on each of these 3 scenarios. So you can put that on your registration form, send that in to your extension agent who will send it to me, or you can send it straight to me. And then I can reach out to you and we can work out the details to make sure that all that waste gets collected. And then our collection events. These are the sites that we'll be in. this year, starting in August on the 23rd. These events take place from 9 until 1. We like to get there early and get set up. So right at 9 o'clock, we're able to start unloading vehicles and getting the waste packed. And then the program's concluded at 1 o'clock, which entails us finishing loading the truck, manifesting the waste, and preparing to get to the next site. So these are the locations that we'll be in this year. And again, anybody can participate at any one. So you might be, convenient to Warsaw, but you can't make it that day. You're certainly welcome to come to any other site that we'll be at. There's certainly no requirements there. And this information is all on our website, which I have linked down here. You can visit that site. You can get registration forms. You can see where we're going to be. You can look to see, when your county might be included. If you're not in this year's service area, all of that information is on that website. And then again, this is my phone number and my email address. You can reach out to me at any time for any reason with any question related to this. So with that, and again, I apologize for my audio challenges. I will turn this back over to our host. We can proceed.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you joining us this morning, sharing information on the pesticide collection program. Hopefully folks will take advantage of that this year in the area. Just a quick comment before I open it up for any questions or conversation. In the chat window, I have posted the pesticide collection program's brochure, so you can find really a lot of the highlights of what Jeff just talked about this morning, collection event dates, what they will and will not accept on that brochure. And then also there is a fillable registration form as a PDF that I put there as well. So certainly if you do have things that you'd like to get rid of and participate in the program, if you could please download that registration form, fill it out, and either get that back to your local extension agent or Jeff. We really appreciate that, so they can have a good idea of what to expect at those events. With that, are there any questions this morning for Jeff or about the program? I don't see any questions in the chat, Jeff, so I think you did a really great job covering everything. Again, if you have questions, I think everyone is probably muted. So if you just click the mute microphone in the bottom left-hand corner at the bottom of your screen, just to make sure that you're unmuted. Sometimes if you're like me, you'll just start talking and no one can hear you because you're muted. So I'll just pause for just a second and make sure no one has questions. All right, well, not hearing anything. So with that, Jeff, again, we appreciate you joining us this morning. Again, if you need more information about the program, if you know someone that may be interested in the program, please send them our way. We're happy to share all of this information. This presentation, as I said earlier, has been recorded, so it will be available for anybody that wants this information. We really would like to get a good turnout of folks for this event and hopefully give everybody a chance to get rid of those products that have been sitting around for a while. Just a few closing comments. As you see on the screen there, if you've joined us this morning or in the past, if you just help us evaluate the program, if there are topics as a producer that you're interested in, fill that out and let us know. We'd be happy to offer a program on that if possible. Also, just like to take a quick second to thank the group of folks that put this together every week. Certainly, first and foremost, our guest speaker, and this week, Jeff Rogers with VDACS. Also, our extension agent team that puts the effort on, Trent Jones, Stephanie Romelchek, Laura Maxine, and Frank Long. And then also our 2 summer interns this year, Claire Talamy in Westmoreland County and Sarah Hallam in Hanover. So thank you for all of your help. They're the ones that put forth all this information and the flyers, and also thank you all. Next time, 2 weeks from now, we will be joined by Dr. David Langston and Sally Taylor to provide a soybean pest update. That will be on Thursday, July 29th at 9 a.m. Same location, links and everything on Zoom. So if you're a soybean producer or know a soybean producer that would be interested in that update, please encourage them to join us on July the 29th. So Appreciate everybody being with us this morning. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to contact us. And thank you again, Jeff, for being with us this morning.
Thanks so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
And thank you all for offering this program. It's great service to producers. So hope everyone has a great rest of their week.